Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Woman Wise podcast. Good thing of the new intro. It's kind of funky, gets us going.
Love it.
So I'm your co-host, and together with Janine, we are absolutely bursting with excitement. We've got a great guest for tonight's episode. Just phenomenal stuff.
Absolutely, Sara. But before we jump into it right away, let's take a quick moment just to remind everybody about the core values that really drive our Woman Wise podcast.
Perfect timing. Our mission is to empower, it's to inspire women in Dubai by showcasing, the journeys, the achievements, the wisdom of the city's most dynamic women.
And that's through insightful interviews and engaging discussions. We kind of create a platform for women to learn from each other, celebrate success, and obviously break down barriers, right?
Absolutely. And that's not all. Our vision is to be a leading voice for women in Dubai.
Exactly. We want to foster a supportive community that truly celebrates diversity, encourages ambition, and ignites a movement of female empowerment.
Exactly. And by sharing stories of extraordinary women like our guest tonight, we aim to inspire also future generations. And actually, well, how about redefining what it means to be a successful woman in Dubai?
Oh, now on the exciting part, our guest for tonight.
Yes, our guest is Mandy Priestley. She is one half of the talented artist behind Pixel Rose Photography. And so get ready for some really inspiring conversation. Hello, Mandy.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for having me, Janine and Sara. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. You were again part of the initial group where Janine and I met. So it just absolutely stands to reason that we would bring in another one of those powerhouses who was at that first networking meeting. You really stood out as somebody who had a very interesting journey.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
So why don't you, for those who don't know you, how about you give us a little introduction and tell us who you are? Who are you?
Who am I? I'm going to actually steal a little bit of an intro from your very first guest that you had, the lovely Michelle. South African born and raised in South Africa, British citizenship and a resident of Dubai for the last 7 years. Moved to the UK in 2001, where I actually ended up in intellectual property, or IP, as a lot of people know it as. And that is all about patents and trademarks. So people who have these incredible ideas to produce something and then put it down on paper and get a patent from that. It was just absolutely amazing. Just to be typing up the specs and things like that. And then 7 years ago, moved here to Dubai with my other half, Alan. And hence the journey began as to, well, what do I do now I'm in Dubai? I didn't want to do intellectual property again. I'd had enough of that. Good South African saying. I was hurtful. Decided to stop and look for something else. Alan said, we'll have a bit of a hiatus, have a break, and let's see what comes along. And then the next thing we knew, we were Pixel Roses, which started off as just a hobby, really. It was part-time, evenings and weekends with friends, people that we knew, and that was it. And it just sort of escalated from there. So there we go. That's a short journey. A little bit more background on myself, if you wish. Grew up, well, I'm a 60s child, so grew up in the 80s with the lycra and the big hair. Got heavily involved in aerobics, which was obviously a big thing back in the day. So much so that at 15 years old, I became an instructor. Loved it. I was always giving classes. And then moved from there into circuit training. So I would give a class. Then I would go and do an hour of circuit training, And then eventually I found free weights, and that was it. I was in my element. I just absolutely loved the challenge of being in the gym and pushing myself to my limits. So a bit of an adrenaline junkie as well. Moving to Dubai, one of the first things I had to do, of course, was skydive Dubai. Absolutely loved it. I had to drag Alan along, and he wasn't too keen on that.
And how many times? So were you like now a qualified skydiver, or is it just like a
No,
one-off?
it was a tandem jump from the plane over the palm. But I first got the bug when I went on a holiday to Turkey, and we took a long drive up a huge mountain and did a tandem jump from the mountain overlooking the bay in Turkey, and it was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely loved it. A little bit different to jumping out of an airplane, I have to say.
I was about to say a little bit different, but still exciting. I love the journey. I absolutely love the journey, and I think what you doing as Pixel Roses just fits your personality, because the creativity side also jumps out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We do love getting creative in the studio. It brings, for both Alan and I, it just brings out something in us, what you can do on a computer, and just taking a shot of a family or a person in the studio and just creating this other world around them. So I'm a bit of a Lego fan, and I've actually built the Millennium Falcon. And one of the projects that Alan did actually was he took a photo of us just sitting in the studio like this, and then he put us into one of the pods on the Millennium Falcon, and he put us in this outer galaxy somewhere in a galaxy far, far away, is the saying, isn't it? Absolutely loved it.
We were talking a little bit earlier because we always like to talk to our guests beforehand to know, kind of not have the conversation before the conversation, but just to get a feel for, what direction is this all going to go? And it was already a fascinating conversation beforehand. And we were discussing, and the question really is, in terms of photography, and particularly those who are professionals and want to have a profile picture or pictures on their websites, how important is it really that you get a proper professional shot? Because everyone's got an iPhone these days, everyone's got a smartphone, you can just point and shoot, there's lots of these apps that you can just kind of do yourself. But, what's your answer to that? Because I'm sure a lot of people say, I don't need to go down that road anymore. What's your answer to that, though?
It's actually a bit of a wall that we come up against quite frequently with people who say, well, I've got an iPhone, it's got a good camera, got the latest one, why do I need it? But as a professional, you're looking for more visibility and engagement and sales, and powerful headshots and portraits will help position you ahead of your competition. So having a professional image done with proper studio lighting and a high quality camera will make all the difference. I mean, with an iPhone or an Android, Samsung, whichever Galaxy, you're not going to get the same quality. First of all, you need the lighting in the studio to set it up first, because lighting will make a hang of a difference in the way you come across in your images. And yes, there's a lot of filters and things like that. But then who are you portraying? Is it a filtered version of you, or is it a genuine version of you? And that's what we try and portray, is who you actually are.
I love that, a filtered version.
Yeah.
That's into it somehow. Now, we all know capturing stunning photos, but walk us through a typical client journey with Pixel Roses Photography. What can people actually expect from the first contact with you to receiving their final masterpieces?
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying one of the questions that we get is, well, who needs a headshot anyway? I've got a camera. Why do I need a headshot? So my answer to that is, if you are looking for a new position, or you've recently changed your look, or you are offering professional services, using a selfie is not going to cut it. You need a high profile image for LinkedIn, etc. So this is one of the conversations that we actually have. As soon as we get an inquiry, we usually try and have a call, or preferably a face-to-face like this, online call with them. In that way, we can establish exactly who they are. They can figure out who we are, and they can kind of check our personalities and our enthusiasm, which is one of the feedbacks that we get quite regularly, is that the enthusiasm that we portray in just that little conversation is kind of what cinches it for them. One of our recent clients actually said that to us. She was shopping around, as everybody does, and after our Zoom call, she said to us then, look, I've got a few others that I need to talk to. And then she came back to us a day or two later, I think it was, and she said, you know what, it was just the way you come across. That's what I want, because that's the way I want to come across in my profile image, my portfolio, that kind of thing. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And if you guys can deliver that, then that's what we do. So we always try and have a conversation with our potential client first and foremost. And then they can get to understand who we are, and we can understand who they are and what their brand is about, because then we work around them to promote their brand.
Unfiltered.
How do you do that then? Just cut across there, Janine. How do you actually, so if someone, obviously you must have a massive range of clients, so people who are totally corporate, so whether it's financial sector or along those lines, so very kind of stuffy shirt, I'm going to say, in terms of they've got to look really smart and everything else, all the way to maybe someone who's a pet groomer or something along those lines. I mean, what's your sort of personal way of pulling out that sort of personality from them and showcasing that then because I mean, if you think about it, a profile pic's tiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Often you're looking at things on your phone, but there are photographs, I have to say, that have really caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, that looks, and you want to go and look at the photograph, you really want to kind of investigate that. So what's your angle on that?
So what we do is we do a bit of a study on our potential client. So we'll go into LinkedIn. We'll have a search on the company that they're with or potentially going to go to, whichever the case may be. A lot of them are self-employed entrepreneurs, just like us, So we try and find out a little bit more information about them. And then that comes out in the call that we have with them, or the Zoom meeting that we have, is we try and dig deeper into exactly what they're about. So many coaches out there who specialize in different fields. I mean, yourself, Sara, to me, that was amazing when I was hearing about your journey. And I just had this vision of things that I could do with you. We try to put that across. And
I had just booked a new head shop before I met you.
Missed out.
Not yet.
Okay. So we do a lot of research ourselves to find out who we would be talking to and who will potentially be our client. And we also want to try and find out what kind of image they want to portray. Do they want to portray a professional image, like a banker, finance, that kind of thing? Or is it going to be someone with a fun-loving personality, and that's what their brand is about and what they want to put across to their clients? So what we do is when we get them into the studio, we let rip, really. We just have fun.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I don't know about you, Janine.
My question now is as well, many people feel so awkward in front of the camera. What tips do you have that can help the listeners feel more comfortable and also confident during the actual photo shoots with Pixel Roses?
Okay, good question. We have found that a lot of people who come to the studio and they say to us, I'm just not confident. I've had bad experiences with previous photo shoots, etc., and I'm just not comfortable in front of the camera. First thing, we can offer them a makeup package. So I am a trained makeup artist as well. So when we have the ladies coming in, we can offer the makeup service. They don't have to take it, but we find that within that hour that I'm doing their makeup, it's like a bit of a spa session for them. And we have a good old chit chat about anything and everything under the sun. And then by the time I'm done with the makeup, and they feel fantastic about themselves, and we go up to the studio, they're raring to go. But the main thing is that we don't stand behind the camera. We stand next to the client. We're there with them in the journey. And then the first thing we do, I mean, that quote about the face being such a landscape, and there's so many angles. It is, if you were actually literally standing in a field somewhere, some landscape, you can shoot at different angles and you can get a different shot every time. So the first thing that we do is we just talk them through, okay, I want you to face this way, then at 9 o'clock, then at 12 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock, and at, you know, we try and
not
find
like a mugshot. That sounds a bit like a mugshot.
Not a mugshot. No, we want them to smile. We do visa shots, but we prefer to do fun shots like that. And then what we do is you do little things called a chicken. So it's all about pushing your head forward, you know, like a chicken walks, make your neck long like a giraffe, move your
I feel like I'm doing that as you're talking.
I was about to say, as Mandy's talking, my head is doing this.
And it makes such a difference because it gives you such a strong jawline as well when you do that. And that's what it's all about. And then we do it live. So we'll show the image live on a screen in the studio. And then the client can see exactly what we're seeing in a camera. And then they can make the tiny adjustments and things like that. Owen always says if we tell them to smile, he'll give them the money back. And I say, I didn't say that.
I love that. And it comes back to one of your favorite quotes. There's nothing more interesting than the landscape of a human face, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And there are just so many views that you can get from a facial expression. And that's what it all is all about. So we give proper posing guidance. So it's not only the angle of your shoulder or the tilt of your head and things like that. We give facial expressions as well. So we have what we call a squinch, which is when you just slightly close your eyes and we want to see the teeth. And usually the client ends up cracking up laughing because they're trying to do all this. Remember the chicken, remember the long neck, remember this pose. and that's the way it ends up. And we get
I'm literally doing it as you're talking. It's like I can't help but follow your instruction. I feel like I've got my eyes squinty and
I can I can just imagine being in your studio, how much fun it can actually be because your personality also just jumps out. So those are really truly awesome nuggets, and I hope the listeners have taken note on this. So in addition on capturing all these beautiful portraits and photos, what inspires you most in your workspace as a photographer?
I think when we get the feedback that we receive from our clients at the end of a shoot, especially somebody who's come in and said, oh, they're shy, they're not quite sure what to do, etc. And it takes as long as it takes. So we're not time bound. So if it's going to take an hour, it'll take an hour. If it takes 2, so be it. Our time is yours. We want to get you to have the best experience that you can have. And then at the end of the session, they've packed up all their bags of clothes. And we generally ask them, so how did you find it? And I would say 10 times out of 10, we've actually found people who are saying, that was actually better than I expected. I had so much fun. And then we say, well, how do you feel now that you see the images? And blown away, amazing. It doesn't look like me. I never thought that I could look like that. That to me is inspiring, that we can help people portray their professional image the way that they want it and have fun at doing it as well.
And do you have a particular story that comes to mind of someone who, really was dreading this, and, what was the outcome for them? And what was the outcome, not just sort of personally, but was there a benefit? Did they see the benefit business-wise?
Yes. There's one lady in particular. She's quite a tomboy. She's actually been to some of the networking events that I've been in, and it took a while to convince her that she should come to the studio, have some fun with us. Came in, no makeup or anything, and then she asked if she could have the makeup package as well, but she wanted it as natural as possible. So I sat her down. We had the music going as well, which just helps to relax. It's a totally relaxed atmosphere. And I just started doing the makeup. I didn't show her the end result until the end. So going through the process and chatting away to her, having a break for a coffee or whatever the case may be. And then I showed her the mirror, and she kind of went, wow. And I said, now don't worry, because when you go into the studio lights are going to actually blow out the image. So It might look quite heavy now, but just wait for the images. And then we go into the studio. We went through, she was doing a full profile image. So she wanted lifestyle for her coaching business as well. So I was like her client, and we were sat at a table. She had her laptop in front of her, a pen and paper, a cup of coffee on the table, and then the image was taken from over my shoulder, so you couldn't really see me. And it was as if she was coaching me across the table. But also just standing with a cup of coffee and gesticulating as if she was talking to somebody. And then we showed her the images at the end of it. And she just said, I can't believe that just from this short session that we've come up with all these images. And what makes it worthwhile is that today I can see her LinkedIn, and she's using those images constantly. But what was funny was that when I saw her the next day, or spoke to her the next day, was she said she didn't take her makeup off even when she went to bed. She loved it so much. So that was a good result for us. Sorry?
Yeah. Then it's amazing. I think that, I'm literally in the minute going through the process of rebranding. After 20 years of a particular company name and everything else, I've actually decided to just go with my own name as the brand, which is quite terrifying, actually. And I didn't think it was going to be scary, but you're not a company name, you're not kind of all of that. You're actually just, it's how do you sort of portray yourself as honestly and as most, I suppose, authentically as possible.
Yeah.
And Janine and I've said it a lot, which is this thing about authenticity. And I just love you describing that process with her, because it sounds like you kind of really drew out of, in that session, a way of really portraying that in a photograph. Because, picture is 1,000 words, I suppose. It's a true saying.
Absolutely.
It's exactly that. And it's your makeup skills is not just about beautifying people, but it's also telling a story through your photography. And that's what I also really love. And that's what's coming across from your experience and your tips. One of our viewers, or listeners rather, Zita, she's saying, this sounds like a lot of fun and also great to find out the best site to do the best shot. Absolutely. It's such a great comment. And it's true. It's exactly what you said.
It is, yeah. So we found that when people are saying that they're scared, I think I might have said it at the beginning, at the top of the hour, when they haven't had a good experience, it doesn't come down to you, it's the photographer. If they can't bring out you, the best of you, the best side, whichever side, or if it's ambifacial, then it's the photographer, it's not you. So that's what we try and do, is we're on the same level as you are, We know what you're going through, and that's why we try and find out and have loads of fun. So you do get people who are left side or right side preference if you want, but you get ambifacial, and they can look straight at the camera and they look amazing. It doesn't matter where it's left, right, or straight onto the camera. And that's great, because then the number of shots that we can get from different angles and different poses is amazing.
I
think I was saying to you, I was laughing. This is quite an old story, but a friend of mine, I hadn't seen her for ages from school, and I, ended up connecting, and I just looked at her LinkedIn profile picture, and I was thinking, wow, she's really changed, since we left school. I was like, I would not have recognized that as being her at all. And then when I met her, of course, she looked exactly the same as when we were at school.
Yeah.
But the shot really didn't capture her. She didn't look like her. And I'm just wondering, what impact does that have then? If, say, for example, you do have one of these like really glammed up pictures, your makeup makes you look completely different. It's not bringing you out, but actually, more like a mask. Have people found that that's kind of a hindrance in terms of them when they go for interviews or they actually go, and what sort of things happens as a result of that?
So we find that there was one instance where we had a client come in and she hadn't updated her profile image for 10 years. And she just couldn't, she didn't think she was photogenic at all. And she had just had a haircut as well. But we find a lot of people they've been retouched to within an inch of their lives by Photoshop. And we don't do that. We want people to see you as you are. If they see you on the street and then they hold up your image, that is who you are. So, for example, if you've got a little scar above your eyebrow or on your cheek or whatever, we won't remove it. What we will do is we remove blemishes that will disappear on their own in about a week or so. So a pimple here and a pimple there. So we don't make you look plastic. The wrinkles are still there. They might be reduced slightly, but we don't go the full Photoshop AI. We don't go overboard with that. We do the personal touch, and we want people to see you for who you are, the real you, because that is your brand.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting because I hadn't heard until actually quite recently. I was chatting to a client and he mentioned the term uncanny valley. And I was like, what's that? And he was like, oh, it's the whole thing about, is it human? Is it human? Is it human? No, it's definitely not human. You've got this, but there's a very fine line, isn't there, with that I remember, the number of pictures you look at, because of social media, profile pictures. And there are pictures you look at and you think, is that a real person?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a very odd feeling. It actually doesn't, it's quite, hence the term uncanny valley, it like feels unsettling. And there's something just not quite, again, there's no authenticity, with that. So I'm sure by the sounds of it, you guys really avoid having that impact.
We do.
And we do. Said AI. AI is amazing, but it's also quite damaging.
It can be, yeah. It gives you a false sense of security, to be honest, because like your experience, you can get somebody who goes, well, they look totally different. Then you meet them and then you go, but you look the same as you did then, but your image doesn't look like you. And you're trying to sort of cobble it together and you think, no. So we do have AI in Photoshop, but Alan and I prefer to have the hands-on experience and in refining the image if you want. You've got a stray hair here or it just needs a bit of tidying up. We could use AI and make you look like somebody totally different. So Angelina Jolie, here we go. We don't do that. That is our creative side coming out. We want.
I love that because everyone is chasing that perfect photo.
Yeah.
And from the sounds of it, if it's too perfect, it's fake. So what are your thoughts around this concept? Is there such a thing as the perfect photo?
No, because if everybody was having the perfect photo, nobody would be individualized. They are not themselves then. They go just, why follow a trend? Why not just stand out and just be who you are? I really am an advocate for that. Don't follow the socials and the trends that are going on the socials and things like that. Just be who you are and embrace who you are, because that's who you are makes you and your brand stand out even more. A slight imperfection here. One of our clients had a slight droop in her lip. Actually, yeah. And then we had a guy who had a bit of a dip in his eyebrow and things like that. that is who he is. And he was happy to have the photos done as he was. He didn't ask us to raise this eyebrow or touch up that lip or anything like that. That was exactly who they were. Their clients knew them that way. So why change it? You know, why reinvent the wheel? You are who you are.
No one is you than you, right?
And we're all unique. Why try and be like somebody else?
And you don't just do profile pictures and obviously, you know, as you said, sort of a series of photos for websites. I mean, it sounds like you do corporate photos for whole teams.
Yes.
It sounds like you do family pictures as well.
We do.
So, you know, what's your favorite type of photo shoot then? Who's your ideal client?
The creative side of things is definitely my thing that I love. I've just got a creative mind. But it is what I like as well is the challenge of corporate photos for a team of people. We have a client that we go to regularly in Abu Dhabi every quarter or so. And it's they sort of fund startup companies. So what they do is they get us in to come and shoot the new load of startups if you want. And you're trying to get them to do all the posing and things like that. And the fun that we have there. I mean, we don't see these people again, you know, and next quarter it's going to be another team. But what we like is when we get the group of people together and we can show just in their face how much they enjoy being where they are. The creative side of things comes about Christmas time, Easter time, Eid, Ramadan, you know, things like that. If you've got any of your listeners on who are Muslim, you know, we can do things around that. But we get people, we have a series of backgrounds, for example, for Christmas time, have a series of backgrounds and they can choose the background that they like. And we can put them into that image and it looks like they're actually there. They're part of it. One of them was a family came in with a beautiful little girl, a toddler. She was absolutely stunning. And they chose the image of a polar bear. And this little girl looked like she was actually feeding this ginormous polar bear. And it was just so cute. We had another family, was mother, father, and then a set of twin boys. And they came in and they got so involved in this Christmas shoot that they were directing each other. And Ellen and I were standing there going, carry on, we'll just keep snapping away. And we got a brilliant image for them.
I love that. It's really bringing fun to the photo shoots. It's like bringing bubbles.
Yeah.
You know, bubbles will make you smile. Bubbles will bring out the kid in you, no matter your age, I'm sure. That's just now me talking, but I'm just thinking of myself. As soon as you bring bubbles, I'm going to be like a little playground for myself. And, yeah, it can only be fun. So it's also what you make of it that plays a big role in photography.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And what's nice is that we found out that one of the boys from that shoot actually carries a little camera around with him wherever he goes. And he just tries to recreate some scenes or to try and get creative himself with it, which is nice, you know. So I'd like to think that we've kind of influenced them that way by just showing how you don't have to have anything in the studio, but your imagination, and you can just go wild with it. You could come up with a scene that you want to be part of from a movie, for example. And you wish you could be all next to Jason Statham. Hello. I'll stand next to him any day. That kind of thing. You know, we can do that.
And what about your own personal journey then into this? Because obviously you've done so many different things. So you're obviously no stranger to change, and you've traveled, and you know you're the adrenaline junkie side of you as well. So in terms of actually starting up a new business, which was a brand new area for you, you know, what did you have to overcome, and how did you do it?
Oh gosh. So I'll start by saying that the journey into this, as I said at the top of the hour, was a hobby. Years ago, when Alan and I were first dating in the UK, you know, took some snapshots and things. And I said, if you ever get the chance to, you should actually go for lessons in how to actually take a really good photo. I didn't mean anything by it. I thought he did a good job anyway. And after we'd moved to Dubai, we actually took a trip out for, I think it was a week, to a photographer who was giving lessons. And it started off as somebody came in, did my hair and makeup for me, because Alan said he'll do it, but I had to be his model. And the experience was just amazing. It made me feel good about myself. And it was just one day long. And at the end of the day, Alan was just blown away by the images. We were both blown away by the experience. And then we got back to the hotel. And I said to him, you know what, if you want, why don't we look at starting something like this as a bit of a hobby when we get back to Dubai? So we got back and he bought a second-hand camera at the time. And then I went and trained as a makeup artist here in Dubai at the London College of Makeup. Fantastic experience. And it blew me away as to how much is involved in putting makeup on somebody and yourself, actually, if you want to do a good job. And so we started Pixel Roses. And like I said, it was just a hobby with friends that we knew. And then COVID hit. So we couldn't get clients in. But during COVID, we actually found out that there were a lot of people starting out, leaving voluntarily or not voluntarily, leaving the corporate world and going out on their own. And they needed to up their game, so they needed profile images. So we started getting clients coming in to get their headshots done. And we've just evolved over the years from COVID time to now. And this is our niche. The other side of the coin is that we also do boudoir photography. And the women are just blown away by that, and the men as well, because it's not just about women. It's empowerment for both men and women. And that was the genre that we actually started with. But we love the feedback that we get from headshot photography and the personal brand photography that we do.
I love it when hassles or like side hustles turns into amazing stories like this one, because you are a success. You're making waves in the photography field. And I'm sure people are on the edge of their seats, just knowing that they know they can have fun with taking photos. I think that's the main thing that a lot of people can take away from today is that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the curiosity as well of, how good can you look? And how, without being artificial, again, without that sort of filtered, AI look. And also, I think it's, I'm so curious. I really am. Like literally, I feel like, I need to book you now in terms of how you show someone's personality in a photograph, because that is tricky. Like it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, sometimes you might see, a family picture or, photo from holiday or whatever. And you're like, oh, wow, God, I actually look okay in that. I'm always like surprised. I'm like, what? But to have someone actually professionally coach you, guide you, direct you, with the makeup as well, and have that, I suppose it's shining the inner person, getting them to shine, the inner inside to shine out.
I think that's what differentiates us from other photographers, because there's a lot of times that you can go into a studio and it's just literally you pick up a camera and you click and you say, okay, thanks, there you go. 15 minutes later, you either get the images digitally or they can give you a memory stick. With us, there's no rush. We want to take the time till you are happy with the image that you get. And we kind of, we work on statistics and we let people know the statistics around having a professional headshot taken. And you are basically judged within 0.4 of a second on your social media image. 93% of recruiters, for example, will look at your LinkedIn profile before they decide, they actually look quite approachable, they look professional, they look credible, that kind of thing. And that's what we try and put across, is we want you to be who you are, but we want you to show the professionalism that is within each and every one of us.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you don't realize actually the impact that your profile picture is having on other people. And
Absolutely.
do you have, I'm going to kind of assume that you have different styles and for different social media platforms. Like, do you sort of guide people more like, okay, obviously LinkedIn, everyone knows it's much more sort of, where professionals hang out, and job offers and recruiting, etc., happens. And but what about things like, Instagram or Facebook or things like that? Like, does it matter so much about your profile then?
I think Facebook and Instagram are not as much of a professional site as LinkedIn or your website would be. But that's where the personal branding shoot comes in. So there we can shoot numerous images for you with numerous outfit changes. And what we do is we can change the backgrounds. So we have a white one, we've got a gray, black, blue, yellow. And depending on your brand colors will depend on the style that we go for. But also the persona that you're trying to put across to your clients. You're approachable. Okay, how are we going to do that? We have quite a few clients who've come in for the personal branding shoot. So we know that they're wanting a number of images. We do the research into their website or their LinkedIn, find out what they're about, what they're trying to portray to their clients. And then we're in the studio doing different, it's not just about this. They can come in, just have one image taken, that's for their LinkedIn profile. But if they're wanting a personal branding shoot, we'll take the time and walk them through a journey. So we will have images where they could be doing this with negative space here, and you can put text next to it. Or we could do a candid shot, when they're laughing, when their head's up, and you think that would be a speech bubble or something like that.
I love that.
Alan's just jumping in there.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, as he says, your picture is so 24 hours a day. Salesperson, it's always online, 365 days a year. It should be, yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? When you hear it, it should be working for you. Your picture should be working for you even when you're asleep. Like, you want to make sure that you're getting the attention in that way. So thanks, Alan. It's nice to have you here in the audience. The other half of Pics
so
and
what we try and do is we produce an authentic but relatable photo style. So we have like I said, the number of different backgrounds. We give you the step-by-step guidance, and it's live, it's on a screen. And what's important is that the visuals need to be current. So that's why I was saying your image should never be older than 2 years. If it is, it's time to book a photo shoot.
I love that. If it is, book a photo shoot. I know someone.
Yeah, I do.
I wonder who.
And it should not be photoshopped to an inch of its life. But it should establish trust, credibility, a professional maturity, reliability, and it should make your clients and viewers who see you to feel confident in your brand's competence and the stability that they know that they're going to get working with you.
Exactly. From the sounds of it, it's you're bringing the magic touch. You doing a stress-free session with your audience, with your clients. You do beyond the basic stuff. You bring more fun to your shoots. You are storytellers from top of the shelf, and what I love is that you're almost investing peace in your photo shoots. That's what I'm getting from everything you're telling me. So I'm just like, I'm gonna probably book a photo shoot myself.
Yes,
I actually spoke to Alan about it. I think a month or two ago. So it's this is happening.
So now that was a month ago. What's your problem?
I know.
Holidays,
Storms.
Yeah.
We won't go there.
Yeah.
Today, actually, and that's interesting because I was literally just thinking, because I had professional headshots done and I think it was 10 years ago. I think that was the last set of headshots.
Oh,
and every time,
wow.
and I'd forget about it because I just stick it up, on LinkedIn, or also things like, your Zoom picture when you're not on the screen, you have a picture. And it was so funny because I'd forgotten it was there. And then I was on a Zoom call and I had to kind of, take my camera off. And I looked at the photo and I was like, well, I wish I looked like that, like now, because it's 10 years old, as I was in my 40s. But I was like, that's a bit, that's definitely outdated. That definitely needs to be, it needs to be changed. And I think a lot of people probably have the same mindset I have, which is it's not that important. It's like there's other things to spend your money on. But really, this conversation has absolutely made me think, wow, it is money well worth spent. I think that
it's
the return
an investment
for what you get.
If you're really wanting to promote your brand, you need to invest in it. I mean, we invest in getting the website done. We invest in our brand colors and things like that. But what about investing in you as a person? And like I've said throughout the call, you are your brand, and how you portray that should justify investing in a proper photo shoot. And let's get your brand out there, because you are your brand. And the other thing is that we don't just shoot at the studio. We can come to a location as well. So if you are time bound and you just can't get away from the office or the home or whatever, we can come to you. So it's not like you have to make the trip to us all the time. We'll come to you. And with the group shots that we've done before for investment companies, real estate companies as well, who've actually come back to us a number of times when they get new staff recruited. We have location shoots with them, or they all come to the studio. And you can imagine the fun then when you've got about 6 people from a real estate company in the studio, and we're all trying to vie with each other. We're telling them to do the chicken, and then the others go, this kind of thing.
I love that. I love the fact that you go to people's places as well, because I think that's also where they feel comfortable. Even though your studio is comfortable, it sometimes helps to go to them to get that authenticity side of them really shining out, or shining through, shall I say?
Absolutely.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think that some of the feedback that we have received is when they come to the studio and we ask them, how was the experience here? It's our home, but the studio is sort of the guest bedroom. It's not part of our home as such. And they say, but because it's here, it feels homely. I feel relaxed. It's not like I'm in an austere environment with a white wall and nothing else going on. And you stand in this pose, don't move from there, don't smile, that kind of thing. We don't do that. It's a homey atmosphere. It's relaxed. Have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever the case may be, and off we go. We'll have some fun music in the studio as well. Do some dancing. That's the other thing that we do. We try and get dance. And
nice.
Candid shots that we can get from that are amazing. They really are.
I don't know about the dancing part so much, but I can hear you. But that's it's like one of your clients who gave you such a nice compliment and review as well, to say that she didn't know that having my photographs taken could be so much fun.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I mean, if we're going to re-listen to this, you're going to hear the word fun quite a lot, because that's exactly what you bring into the photo shoots. I absolutely love that. Well done on doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, we just enjoy what we do. We enjoy the result, and we enjoy seeing the light sort of switch on our client's face when they look at the images and they go, wow, okay, that looks good. I can use it here. I can use it here. Oh, I can do this with it, and then they're starting to think through the process as well. It's amazing.
It's probably quite cathartic as well for a lot of people, in the sense that, if you've had this very negative self-image and think that you're not photogenic and, you can't get a good photo, I mean, that really can be quite, detrimental, obviously, to your own confidence as well.
Absolutely.
And if you know that this is actually, I think it's that thing, if you don't know how other people see you.
Yes.
And often then when the photographer sort of really sees you and can kind of bring that out, I think it's, as I said, I can imagine it being very cathartic and something that can be very emotional, probably for some people too, that it can be, really, really life-changing actually in terms of lifting their confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a few people in who are, they just don't want to because they really have low self-esteem, and it's understandable. So many people do have that. But that's where the chilling out, the relaxed atmosphere comes into play really strongly. And Alan and I work so well together in the studio. He's more with the camera, but then he could be directing next to the client, and I'll suddenly go and I'll click because I saw a shot that I think is absolutely stunning. And then vice versa. I could be showing the client a pose, whether it be male or female, and then Alan will suddenly go click, and then there's that candid shot, and then they can look at it and they go, wow, okay, so that wasn't as bad as I thought. It didn't hurt as much as I thought it was going to hurt.
What I love about what you guys are doing is, you do the proper research. You get to know the client. It's not just, as you say, come in, click, look left, look right, and thank you, bam, there we go. Here's your stick with your photos. You really invest, as you said earlier, in your clients before you even do the shoot. And Absolutely. I think that is really valuable, and what makes you stand out from the rest. Well done to you on that.
Thank you. Yeah. We like to think that's our differentiator, as not only the research that we do, but it's the personalization that we give to the photo shoot. It's not an austere environment. It is a relaxed and fun environment. The word again, fun.
There it is.
Yeah, but there could be a game, couldn't there? Every time you hear it, you have to,
Yes.
It could be a game, yeah. I love it. This has been a fantastic conversation. I don't know about you, Sara.
Oh no, it's actually, it's kind of definitely hit a nerve in the sense of, really thinking about, a photograph's not just a photograph. It says so much. And I think having that ability to have somebody who really, you've definitely convinced me that the approach is right in the sense that it's about drawing out the individual. It's not just taking a glossy photograph. It really is that thing about personalities, and I think, we can say it, 100 times, but I think AI has its place, but I just think it's being overused in so many different places and so many different areas. And I think people have to be, my theory now is we've got to be more human than ever now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To really stand up and stand out, and to really connect with people. And I think a photograph, you're not there, but you can connect with somebody just through a photo.
Yeah.
Unfiltered,
absolutely. And that's what I said earlier as well. There was actually I don't know if Alan's actually mentioned this to you. There was a study of, I don't know if it's the same thing, but somebody took a picture of individuals in a class, if you want, in a studio, and they had to look at themselves and criticize or critique what they thought was wrong with them. And then they would get the other students in this studio to have a look at that same image without that person being there and critique that. And they recorded what they were saying about that person and played it back to that person. And it was just, emotional, like you cannot believe. Because the way we look at ourselves and the way other people look at us, totally different. We're very judgmental of ourselves.
I think that is the key here, isn't it? And I think this is the aim of this podcast. It's to help people get past those limiting beliefs. It's to get past that negative internal dialogue. you know, we are our harshest critic at the end of the day. And for what does it really achieve? You know, and I often ask the question about empowerment, you know, what does it really mean? And it means different things to different people. But I definitely would say, from my point of view, it's to be as authentic as possible and be in a position where other people can see that authenticity and to really connect with that. And I think, as I said, being more human than ever is so important. And you can't do that if you're hiding or if you've got that negative, you know, voice inside your head. I call it the monkey. You know, it's chattering away, you know, telling you no one's, you know, all these awful things. I know this is what I do, you know, for a living, is I help people to overcome this. And it's amazing the stuff that people say to themselves. It's just incredible. I used to do that. You know, I used to think that one of the saving grace. Sorry, I got something frog in my throat. Saving graces now is that I know that most people are so busy thinking badly about themselves that they're not really thinking about other people. I think, you know, people are not sitting there judging you, but to be able to get past your own self-judgment, I think is incredible. And it sounds like you guys really, really help people to do that. And that is incredible. This is not just a profile picture. You know, this says so much more.
And I think what you were saying there, Sara, is I think that's why people want to go for the plasticky look. You know, having photoshopped, their skin is so smooth, you can't see the pores, that kind of thing. And it does boil down to insecurities. And I think that's why we like to have the live sessions in the studio. You've got the screen and you can see exactly what we see. You can see how amazing you look. Even the men. I mean, some men are so self-conscious of, we have no idea what. And then they see the image that we're shooting. Good go.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it. This has been a really, really insightful conversation. And, you know, again, inspiring. And it's to, you know, I just love the fact that we've met so many women who have been on so many different pathways. And the one that they're on now, every single person we've spoken to so far, and I know that, you know, we've got some great lineups coming up in terms of guests, are so passionate about what they're doing now. It's like they've found their passion, they're living their passion, they're living on purpose, and that really shines through. And I think it's very, very compelling.
That's good. That's good. I'm looking forward to the rest of your journey as well, and seeing all these amazing women that you are going to have. And I'm definitely going to make a plan to try and join as many as I can as a listener, for sure. Well done, ladies.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Wow, Wendy, can you believe it's been nearly an hour?
I was about to say, I can't believe how time is flying when you're having fun and such an awesome conversation. All I want to say is, whoever's listening, is let go and trust the expert, which is Pixel Roses Photography, right?
Thank you. Absolutely. Have fun. Come in, relax, and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely. And, you know, at the end of the day, we are here to support each other. And this is about, you know, lifting everybody up. As they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. Yeah. And, you know, that is actually our aim. This is collaboration, it's support. And it's just been amazing to have you on. So Mandy Priestley from Pixel Rose Photography, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Janine and Sara, for having me as your guest. Absolutely loved it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you both.
Thank you. And also to our listeners, thank you for listening and your comments. We really, really appreciate you.
Absolutely. And those who are listening into the recording as well, I know this has been a bit of a crazy week. A lot of people are doing all kinds of stuff to overcome that. So we hope that you've enjoyed listening to the recording. And remember, please do, you know, share comments, share the links of this with other people that, you know, this would really help. And, you know, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also to Podbean. So we're on a few different places. And yeah, we've got another amazing guest lined up for next week. Very, very exciting. A little bit more spring cleaning to do. But this time of your house and your home, your environment where you're living. So that is extremely exciting. And we look forward to seeing everyone again next week. So, Mandy, thank you very much. To my incredible co-host, Janine, thank you for being here. My co-host has just been so great already. Can't believe this is number 3. We're just getting stronger and stronger.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. So,
Thank
from
you,
all of us,
ladies.
good night. We will see you next week.
Good night.